Hello everyone, so this lesson I'll be attempting to show you how to draw a sphere. It's going to be a Powerline drawing, so isometric, but I think it's just going to be a good exercise to kind of hone in and build on from the drawing a circle and drawing a cylinder in perspective exercise and practice our curves. So I'm going to be probably pausing a lot because I've got my son, who's around 7 months, on my lap, so let's see how this goes. So I'm going to start by drawing a cube. He's looking at me, he's already bored. Come on, pay attention. So what I'm doing here is drawing my first face of the cube. And you want to try and get this cube as cube-like as possible. That is to say, not a cuboid. You want it to be square. I'll move it down a bit. I can all see a bit better then, actually. That's good. There we go. So there's our cube. So this is a Powerline drawing. So that means that the lines that are parallel in reality are exactly parallel on the drawing, or, you know, I say exactly, close enough. Whereas perspective, those parallel lines will be under the influence of perspective and will eventually meet a vanishing point, whereas these will, yeah, stay parallel. So you've got 3 sets, 1, 2, 3 sets of parallel lines. Anyway, right, so I think, I haven't actually tried this method, but I think it should work. I'm going to create a face within this cube. It's not that boring. So what I've done is I've drawn a face kind of running within that cube, and it creates a cross almost. Remember the technique to find the halfway point? And yeah, we don't really need that here because it's so simple. Okay, and then I'm going to run one the other way. So you're effectively creating 2 crossed planes within this cube. And the plan is to create 2 circles there. Actually, no, I have to do more. Wait a minute, I haven't thought this through. This is going to get very complicated. But there you go. Just be fun. So I'm going to start with drawing the circle on this face, which will be an ellipse. Using the method in the How to Draw a Circle in Perspective video. Harry, I'm doing a video. Thank you. That's one running that way. And now I'm going to attempt to draw one the other way. This is actually going to be a good exercise because you find yourself with a lattice of lines that you kind of have to think and look through a lot of the time when you're drawing, so this should help with that. It's not the easiest thing, but that's all right. It doesn't have to be easy. I mean, I might not be able to do this, in which case it's probably not a great video to put on this series, but you might be able to do it. So there we have 2 discs effectively crossing one another at a perpendicular angle. Okay, we'll do that. We'll do another disc, like halfway going horizontally. All right, Harry? Charming. Won't stop yawning. Okay, so now we are going in. It's getting pretty busy in there, so after this one we'll try and make sense of it all. Right, so in the sphere that we're constructing so far, we've got 3 discs. So we've got one going this way, and then the other one going the other way, and then the other horizontal. So 3 discs, which is giving us enough to kind of go ahead and draw an accurate sphere. However, I want to just kind of almost go a little bit further, just so we can practice drawing through a very complex sketch, really, because I think this is really quite helpful to practice. So I'm going to find the diagonal, I'm going to find the disc that's running along this axis here. So to do that, because we've put that horizontal disc in, we can use that to give our width of the square plane that we'll then use to construct the circle. Just because you can't follow the line and read it at every point doesn't mean it's not going to be helpful to you. So just follow the procedure for drawing the disc and know your points that you need to get to. So remember about splitting up the circle to make it easier to draw, so that's what we're doing. So now my mind is focused on this square plane that we're drawing, and it's trying to blank out the others at this stage, which is difficult. Trying to focus on one circle at the moment, the one disc that we're drawing. There we go, we made it. And now this way, if we did the disc going to the other diagonal, because of the angle that it's directly in line with our viewpoint, it would just be a line. So that's not really that helpful to us. But as you can see, it's emerging. So I think now we can go ahead and complete the sphere using what we've drawn as a guide. So there's our sphere, obviously made up of all these discs, so it's looking quite confusing. Now, there's nothing to stop you drawing a circle freehand and using tone alone to create a sphere, a spherical impression. You can do that, but I think to understand the geometry that makes up the sphere is really useful, because what you can do with that, for example, once you have a sphere, once you know how to draw a sphere like this, you can draw a dome, and obviously through architecture domes are used a hell of a lot. So understanding the geometry is going to help you draw all kinds of things. Now, if our light source is coming from the top, we can use this sphere here, not sphere, sorry, this circle down here as a kind of shadow to our sphere to give it definition. And because the light is coming from the top, the lower half of the sphere would be in shade. So use that horizontal disc as an indicator of halfway down the sphere to shade. And it's a gradual, it's not a sudden change in tone. It's fairly gradual when it comes to a sphere. And it will be darkest the closest you get, the further on the underhang you go, really. Same for the shadow, it will be darker the closest to the point where the sphere is touching. And the sphere isn't in fact touching where you might expect in terms of where the visible, basically the spatial edge of the sphere meets this plane here. It's back there, that's where the sphere is actually touching. So it's good to remember that, because that can potentially throw you off a drawing. So yeah, that is how to draw or construct a sphere, because you can draw it, like I said, just drawing a circle and then using tone alone. But here we've tried to understand the construction of the sphere and its relationship to the cube. This isn't an exercise I've done before, so it's been quite interesting to see how to do it. And I think that it just goes to show that you can kind of play with ideas and concepts. But yeah, that was fun. Hope you enjoyed that, found that useful, hopefully not too confusing. I might just do a quick recap, really rough over here, just so we all know where we are. So you draw your cube as a Powerline drawing. Okay, then you divide that half with a plane there. So that plane's really important. And then you go the other way as well. Okay, so before I do the other disc, let's divide it the other way too, because that might be helpful. So then you'll need your horizontal square, effectively. So with this construct, we've created this sphere. Now, to do that, obviously, as we've just done, you draw a circle in perspective. Now I've got a video with how to draw a circle in perspective, so if you haven't seen that, go and check that out. That should help you with this video. This is a little bit more advanced play around with Powerline Drawing. So let's start with the first disc. That's one disc going that way. Then we need this one going here. That's where it gets tricky when you start to cross over forms. But again, a great way to practice what is a difficult thing to do. So there we go, these two perpendicular discs that in plan are doing this. So this is a plan view of these discs. So there's one disc and that's the other disc going that way. Now we have to do the horizontal disc that will create this in plan. So we've got a horizontal plane there and we do the same. So there we go, that's our three discs that are really important, and I think from there you can create a curve as long as it's a circle that intersects all of these discs, the furthest reaches of these discs, and that will create your sphere. Okay, so I hope you found that useful and you can play around with that yourselves. And yeah, just, I mean, it just goes to show that just using that simple geometry of the cube and generally kind of the box it comes in, drawing the box, drawing the parameters, and using the knowledge you have to construct a shape that is at once very simple but also quite complicated to draw correctly,